There's a big talking point, an abrupt stop to the Transport Department's controversial demerit system. The Pretoria High Court today declaring the AARTO Road Traffic Offences Act and the Amendment Act of AARTO, which includes this licence demerit point system, unconstitutional and invalid. The Department of Transport is studying that judgment, but it is likely to appeal. Let's get a comment now by the Road Freight Association CEO, Gavin Kelly. Gavin, thank you so much for your time. I know that you too are still studying the judgment, but if I could just have a response from you. Are you pleased that the court has made the decision it has today?
Good evening, Sally. And yay!
We'll take that as a yes.
We've been commenting on this act since 1998 when it first came out, and the Amendment Bill, or the Amendment Act of 2019, wasn't the only Amendment Act. There were a couple along the way, three along the way, but the one in 2019 was the one that made drastic changes to the original format of the AARTO Act. So we are happy that it has been stopped, because there could have been or would have been huge implications for a lot of drivers, owners of vehicles in the country, not only fleets like us, where we would have had massive amounts of administration to have put into place to know where each and every vehicle was and where each and every driver was, and to get to rehabilitation training or whatever they wanted to call it, and to look after various other things within the administration, which would have cost us a lot of money. So we are happy because we know they weren't ready to implement it. And we would have had a headache for at least a year, if not longer, while they tried to sort out all of these little hiccups and hurdles of not very well put together act.
The Transport Department has maintained that this system, which includes the demerit plan, would ultimately help control road safety. And my understanding of the plan is that every time you get a traffic infringement, or every time you get a fine, you get a demerit. And if you get too many demerits, you have your license temporarily taken away, and after a few times you have it permanently taken away. And they're basing that on research that shows that people who are involved in committing and being responsible for terrible traffic accidents often have previous convictions or traffic fines. So on paper, it sounded like a good idea. Talk to me about why that part of it doesn't work for you.
Well, I think the most important thing around all of this, Sally, really is the law enforcement on the ground where those offences are committed. We know that we don't have the best law enforcement. There are a lot of hardworking guys and girls out there. Not every single traffic officer is corrupt or police officer is corrupt. We get that. But where we really do struggle is to get our ladies and gents in those places where those crashes are happening, or where that bad behavior is continuously present. In the 2020-21 festive season, there was a great reduction in crashes over that festive season. Now, the question must be asked, why? Was it only the COVID pandemic that reduced the number of vehicles on the road? Or was it because for the first time in a number of years, there was targeted law enforcement in the areas where traditionally a lot of crashes or accidents, whatever you want to call them, had been happening, so the police were there ready to change behavior? Because that's what it's about. It's about changing behavior and finding a system that is going to ensure that behavior not only changes, but that there's a continuous, better, safer way in which people use the roads.
Now, we are aware that the Transport Department might challenge this ruling that found the Act unconstitutional and invalid. But what does it mean for road traffic fines, those road traffic fines that perhaps were incurred over the festive season and before that, which all say AARTO on them? Are those fines valid?
I know what you want me to say. If you listen to say they're all moot. First of all, there are two systems running concurrently in the country. There are those authorities who still issue road traffic fines, as the general public call them, or notices in terms of the National Road Traffic Act, that are issued through the criminal procedure process. Then there are the two issuing authorities. There might be another one, but we're aware of Tshwane and of Johannesburg, who issue AARTO infringement notices, and they would go through the AARTO process. Now, it's not my place to say whether those notices are going to stand. The Act has been, with immediate effect, deemed unconstitutional, and I'm sure one of the things that the Department of Transport is going to have to do is try and get some clarity on what's going to happen to those notices. And I'm not even going to delve into all the notices that were issued before, since 1990 odd, when the first pilot program of AARTO came into place. So at this stage, we would have to wait and see what the issuing authority, what the RTIA is going to state in terms of that, and that's why they need to study that judgment.
Talk to me about what you understand was found to be unconstitutional. I've heard reports that there was concerns about the separation of powers, that AARTO was sort of a national approach, and that created problems with the municipal, local, provincial separation of powers. But there are other issues as well. Talk to me about the unconstitutionality issues.
I'll tell you what we could see from the judgment, and we had a quick read through it, is that the judge found that there are certain competencies that are given to various levels of government or tiers of government. As you know, we have 3 tiers of government: a local or municipal government system, and then we have a provincial government and a national government. The judge said, according to the Constitution, specifically in chapters 4 and 5, that certain competencies, powers, functions, tasks, if you will, were given to various levels of government. And in terms of traffic, that the national government was there to do regulation. So that's a legislative role that it plays. Puts in place the rules and puts in place the parameters in which or how traffic and how various services around traffic would be compiled and done in the country. And then in provinces and in municipalities, they're given specific functions. In the province, it's traffic law enforcement and roads, and in the municipality, it's around parking and traffic within the town. Specific things that are dealt with in terms of those levels of government. And the judge said, national cannot now come and take over what's happening in province and in the municipality and deem it as their domain and now control that and police it if you would. That must remain with the municipality and the province. And whatever functions they perform and whatever powers they have are, and I don't want to use the term sacrosanct, but are secured in terms of the Constitution. It was theirs. You cannot take that away from them. And whatever you're going to do is going to be therefore illegal, unlawful, unconstitutional in terms of the way the Constitution is put together.
All right, so the ball is in the court of the Transport Department, looking at that judgment that's thrown out the AARTO Act. Road Freight Association CEO Gavin Kelly, thank you so much for chatting to us this evening.